There we go. And occasionally there might be something that happens really positive, new school of thought, something like that. It happens a lot, actually. And I might want to come out with a bit of micro content and put it out online, but I won't do that without your permission. The goal really is just to load this up to YouTube on a private sort of link, and then you can replay it to your heart's content afterwards. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so next, Chatham House rule. Okay, so I'm not expecting any challenges on this. I've only ever had one challenge before in a larger cohort, but look, this is safe space. We can talk about anything you want in the world of sales, any issues with closing particular clients, and there might be some commercial sensitivities in that, because that's what we do. So I would just ask us to respect those situations. I'm sure we're all over 18. I'm sure we will do that. By the end of this session, yes, absolutely. By the end of this particular session, session 1, is we're going to learn how to tell our story of our company, why we're in business, how we transform our customers' lives. There's going to be some sales basics, but also how it relates to your specific worlds, how your company sees the world in its context, if you like. We're going to learn about a value proposition. Now, this is in the non-academic sense of value proposition and why a value proposition is important. I'm going to take you through Hollywood A-lister best practice, if you like, phone call. So we've all talked about outreach. And the phone, of course, is just one. I mean, back when I started in sales, the phone was about the only, apart from knocking on doors, was the only way that you could do sort of outreach. And now the choice of channels is dizzying, particularly when you get to someone Vodafone's size. You've probably got a dozen channels, Fraser, that you're potentially getting leads coming in, right? The reason I know this is because I worked with Alex remotely last year when I was doing some work with BT.
Yes.
I wasn't even in sales. Long conversation, but I ended up running a team of accountants to build the budget for that particular part of the business next year, just over £1 billion, and that's how I got to know everyone. Anyway, a short break. Health and wellness and all of that, especially online, is tiring. Looking at a screen for 2 hours. So keep me honest on this, but around about the halfway point, sort of 2:05, something like that, just like to have a 5-minute break, get a brew, walk around, stretch your back, all of that. I think that's good stuff. And then we're going to have activity 1 and 2. In fact, we're going to get that to sooner rather than later. Volunteer, I'm not going to wrap up. Now, I say homework, we're not at school. There is a bit of work to do if you are so inclined. I would encourage you to do it. It's about telling your story, so I think that's really, really important. Okay, so we've done the intros thing already, and yes, okay, so I want to talk about the most important sales skill, and I'm going to open it up to both of you. Would you like to? What do you think is really important when it comes to the world of sales? What are the important skills?
Oh, go on, Fraser. You go if you want.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think you need to resonate with the buyer. You need to have a product that they're looking for. I suppose that ties into resonating. This is a funny analogy Alex uses. So there's you can talk about sales as an art, or you talk about sales as a science. He calls it a science. So I think there's many building blocks that go behind the scenes of any product. So Dominic doing like cyber which is obviously something Vodafone do as well. I think you still there still has to be a need. You need to create a need for the sale.
Yeah. Yeah, really good points. Dominic, you were going to.
Yeah, I'm sort of torn between two answers here. The first one is obviously being able to adapt to your prospects. So being able to, or at least what I think is being able to adapt to who you're selling to and adjust accordingly. But I think also just simplest one really, a lot of it's a conversation. So just listening.
Listening. Good, like that. Yeah. Okay, so what word do you think of when you look at that image?
Generating trust.
Right on the money.
Bingo.
Yeah, trust.
Yeah.
And so here's my point. So the kind of sales that we're all doing, what the marketing folks would call highly considered purchases. It's not like going in the newsagent and buying the Times or heaven forbid the Daily Mail. Then it's much more than that. You don't need to trust the newsagent when you're buying it. Well, maybe you do. Don't know. I haven't been to Glasgow for a long time, Fraser, so I'm going to go out on a limb and saying they're
Trust
all
me.
okay.
Yeah. You need to trust them. Trust me.
There we go. But you know, by and large, we're spending the kind of money that customers are going to be investing with us, and on the mission critical nature of the services and products that you're selling, there's a high degree of trust. And unless you know how to build trust, you're never going to sell anything. You're always going to be hamstrung. So trust is really good. But I really like, and forgive me, I can't remember who mentioned it, but somebody mentioned listening. Listening really, really key as well. And listening is really hard. In Masterclass number 4, we've got the whole 2-hour session minus 5 minutes for the break, based on listening as it relates to qualifying the sale and building credibility and all of that. So it's that important. Okay, I like what this guy says. Now, you've all probably seen The Wolf of Wall Street, and I hope you'll be pleased to know that my sales training is nothing like that. Although I can attest that when I started in sales, 1988, my first formal sales role, first non-BT, so I was in sales and BT 3 years, then I moved to a small company called the Pink Telephone Company. No surprise, no longer in business, but that was a baptism of fire. The first sales course I was put on, I've got to remember, I'm still recording this, but I kid you not, it's called the 3 F's of selling. Phone them up, fit them up. You can imagine what the third one was. That was literally the name of the course. They were unashamed about it. And so the Wolf of Wall Street was true. You know, that sales behavior did exist back in 1988. I'm pleased to say that the professional sales is elevated somewhat, and you two have got the responsibility to help elevate it even further. So okay, so I like what this guy says about sales. He's the CEO of Mansa Systems. And Siva says sales not about selling anyone anymore, but building trust. We've already talked about that, and educating, and especially when it comes to what you guys are saying. You are used to selling your stuff, but the person that you're selling to may not be experienced in buying, and so your stuff, they might buy loads of different things, buildings, stationery, all sorts of things, but it may not be experienced buyers. So in that essence, that's why we need so much trust and to listen, is because we're probably going to have to educate at some stage. Now, I know, Dominic, when you've got your deal over the line, you're going to have someone come in and do the account management, but you've got to get the deals over the line first. Fraser, you too. So I like what this guy says. For me, I've not done Pareto law, Fraser, but as you imagine, I've done lots of courses before. You might come across spin selling in your sales journey. You might come across target account selling, Miller Hyman, all sorts of things. And I have to say, having been involved, 34, 35 years, a spin selling salesperson or trainer might look at my stuff and be able to lift out, oh yes, I recognize that. But I have to say, after this many years, they all sort of morph into one, plus my own personal experiences of what works for me, and it comes out as keithology, if you like. I would never be so arrogant as to call it keithology, but you're going to find a bit of everything in there. So I think, closing a deal, getting a deal over the line. I'm really interested to hear you saying that Alex thinks it's a science. If any of you, either of you follow someone called Professor Henry Mintzberg, Mintzberg, Mintzberg. He's one of the fathers of management thinking, and he talks about management or leadership as being an art, a craft, and a science. The art, craft, and science of managing. And I think actually, if you put the lens of sales person over that, I think sales is an art, a craft, and a science, depending on what aspects of it we're talking about. But for me, closing a sale is simply a natural conclusion to a well-qualified sales conversation. So we're talking to the right person or people, because very often there's more than one person involved in get the deal. And we've got the right kind of lead. We're working on the right kind of opportunities so that our close ratio, the number of opportunities we're working on versus the number of deals that we get over the line, hopefully somewhere between 1 to 2.5 to 1 to 3, somewhere in that. That's the ideal close ratio. Depending on how good your marketing department is at getting leads in through the door, and depending on your ability to qualify sales in terms of outreach. So that's what I believe. Right, so today we're going to be talking about creating a crystal clear message so that even I can understand it. Next week, we're going to be talking about go-to-market strategy, and that's sales channels and all of that. We're going to be talking about spending less time on unwinnable or unwanted deals. So we're going to be talking about your bill of rights, if you like, your salesperson's rights and entitlements, not to be messed about. Developing great communication skills as it relates, listening is at the heart of that, I believe, qualifying deals. Understanding what your client really wants. So what do you want to buy? What do you really want to buy? We're going to go through that. How to pursue strategic deals. I'm not going to go there yet because that's quite an abstract one, but if you are interested in selling bigger ticket stuff as you go forward on your sales journeys, then that's absolutely front and center of what's going to differentiate you from your competition. Negotiate and close with confidence, and then maximizing wallet share. And both of you have referenced account management already. So that's, you've won the deal, but that's by no means the end of the process. It's the start of a new process, which is continuing to delight that customer and get them spending even more money with you. And then as we go through this process, we're gonna get brilliant at communicating over video. And that's, the world has changed over the last 3 years. Before, it didn't take much for someone to switch the PC off and go out and travel all that way and go and see a customer to qualify deals. The world has changed, and I hope for the better. Okay, so why is a 60-second pitch important? Well, have either of you been to speed networking before? Have you done that?
No.
Okay. You seem quite happy about that, Fraser. Okay. Well, as a small business, when I first started working for myself, which was only about 4 or 5 years ago, a year before the pandemic started, is I moved to a new place. We moved to, I'm in York now, in the north of England, but we moved to Birmingham for my wife to start a new role with the West Midlands Combined Authority, and I had to go out and meet new businesses. Networking is a good way to do that. And I would find myself sat opposite someone who would, give me some, they'd be 58 seconds into their 60-second pitch before we actually got to the meat and potatoes of what they do. And then the whistle would go and it'd be my turn and all of that. So some of this comes out of that. But a lot of it is just frankly common sense. You've got to get to the good stuff. And therefore you've got to know what the extraneous, the excess baggage is, the noise that you don't need to be telling customers, and that's where it kind of comes from. So any idea, you've probably heard the phrase elevator pitch before.
Yes.
Or no? Any idea how long an elevator pitch should last?
As long as it takes to go up an elevator.
Ah, all right. Okay. Give me a number.
About 30 to 60 seconds, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Fraser, anything on that?
I'd probably say a couple of minutes at least for a pitch.
Okay, but talking specifically about an elevator pitch, I think for an elevator pitch, you've got about 8 to 10 seconds.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Right, okay.
Yeah, 8 to 10 seconds. And I'll tell you why is because now maybe 10, 15 years ago, you would have 2 minutes to give your elevator pitch. But actually, even in that fairly short period of time in terms of human history, 10 to 15 years, we've become the Twitter generation. Attention spans are minuscule, and you've got to get to that, what I call a poke in the eye, really quickly, or people are just going to get kind of turned off. Nothing to do with whether you're an interesting person or not, but you've got to get to that hook, that poke in the eye sooner rather than later. Now, here's another question for you. Any idea, I'm speaking to you at what I hope is normal speed, and I hope you can understand my accent and all of those things, but if as fast as I'm speaking, or the rate that I'm speaking now, any idea how many words per minute that equates to?
That 240.
No idea. Yeah.
Okay, so, and you can Google this afterwards. It's 140 words per minute. Okay, so and that's, I think this is a relatively sensible. If we're in New York, we can really kind of speed up, and if we're in Australia, we can slow right down, and we're going to raise our pitch as we ask a question at the end, and all of that. But it's generally about 140 words per minute, and it's not expected to be a maths exercise, but obviously mapped onto 140 words a minute and 8 to 10 seconds of elevator pitch, then you've got 16 to 20 words in your elevator pitch, to kind of tell a snippet. You can't tell a whole story, but to tell a snippet of a story, a hook, where someone says, well, that's really interesting, that positions you in the right way. Okay, right, so objective. So now that's an elevator pitch. Your 60-second pitch, which is slightly different. The sole objective of a 60-second pitch is not necessarily to sell your products, because we're not selling the Mail on Sunday or anything like that here. We're doing highly considered stuff. The sole objective is to get you to the next stage, which is where the client or prospect says, that's really interesting, we need to meet. And that's where you get your whatever the next stage in the process is going to be for your sales process, whether it's to have a 15-minute meeting on Zoom or 30-minute meeting on Zoom, basically get as far as you can down the process before you decide to meet face to face. If indeed you do feel the need to meet face to face. So Fraser, I'm going to ask you in your, because you're going to have a much more, should we say, rigid framework to operate in, I would imagine. Is it envisaged that you would leave the office and go visit customers, or no?
As much as possible, for me, honest, we trying to get out to customers. It depends on, I suppose it depends on what your view is. I think personally, I think since COVID, customers have invested so heavily in on their back end systems that they've set up a Teams infrastructure behind them or a Zoom infrastructure. So why not utilize that? It's much easier. You can do it from anywhere. You can do it at any time. But I do see a benefit of going to see customers. I think you can generate a wider conversation. It's more comfortable. It's not as kind of too dynamic as such. So I think it's personal preference, I suppose. Alex, who you know, he's very much get out and get it and see someone.
Yeah. My boss is the same actually. Fraser is very much match the customer's, preference. If they want to,
Totally.
if they want to go over email, that sort of thing.
Sorry, I'm here, but my video cut out.
Oh.
Send to Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Right. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Karen.
But no, with face to face, like I've had, because I literally started just before Christmas, but I've had stories already of there was a client who they'd gone through the whole process on, and then they were like, right, can you meet us please? We're up in Manchester, we're down in the southeast, so someone sent someone up to go see them in the office. Eventually got there and walked in the door, sat down and went, we'll take the product. They didn't want any more pitching. They knew what they wanted. They just wanted to make sure that we as a company would value them enough to turn up. So yeah, I agree with you, Fraser. It's definitely the customer's preference, but there is definite value to meeting face to face, and there's value to doing online meetings as well.
And that's the point. And I'm really glad that you shared that. The point is to think about these things. Don't just sleepwalk into doing stuff slavishly over Teams, or even just jumping in the car at the drop of a hat because you fancy the afternoon out in Saffron Walden or something like that. If indeed you do fancy an afternoon out in or Loch Lomond if you're in Glasgow. So to do it purposefully and in intent, with intent, that's the important thing. Okay, brilliant. Now, so we've got our pitch, and where else could this pitch that we're going to be developing, where else do we think that could come in useful?
I think if you've got a kind of 10 to 15 second window to make an impression, if you're at events and that got multi kind of networking opportunities to kind of highlight you against the competition. As you said, you've only got that small second of gap, small window. You need to make an impression. You need to make it long lasting so that they leave thinking about you, kind of thing, not just on to the next one.
Exactly, and it makes you different as well. If you can deliver a really crisp message that resonates, makes you different from the BTs, from your other competitors as well. So and that sales message, why people buy from Spritz Monkey or from Vodafone, is portable. So whatever that message is, you can articulate that message over all your social channels, your Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And the art of LinkedIn seems to be giving the same message 1,000 different ways in order to keep people engaged with the message. That's what do you really stand for? So excellent. So also if you're cold calling on the telephone, or if you've got to phone someone up, you need to, and I've worked in enough call centers to know good from not so good, but you don't want to leave it until the 45th second before you get the interesting bit. You've got to get there in the 5th or 6th second to get to the interesting bit. So that's why it's important to tease out these messages. And an elevator, I know what you're saying about 30 seconds or so for an elevator pitch, Dominic, but generally, if you've been in an elevator 30 seconds, it's either really tall building, maybe, or it's broken. So, and that's
I was kind of going for more like Empire State Building kind of
thing.
thing.
Empire State. Okay. Have you been, Dominic?
No, it's more, that was more from what I understood from movies, but I'd love to go. America is a visiting place on my bucket list. That
good. Good for you. Fraser, you ever made a trip like that?
Yeah, I was in New York this time last year. So,
oh, wow.
Quite the city.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
My favorite city in the world. And actually, when you actually do get stuck in a lift with a CEO, now I've not, and it can happen, so that you've got that drilled into you, and the CEO says to you, Fraser, Dominic, what do you do? What are you doing here? What do you do for us? And you can just trot it out. And it does happen. It's happened to me, not in terms of the CEO, but when I was on Canary Wharf, and I spent 25 years on Canary Wharf, Credit Suisse was one of my accounts, and a guy that I'd been trying to cold call for literally months. And on LinkedIn, of course, got the photos, what they look like. And I recognized this person, James. I said, "Are you James Prout?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to talk to you because this, and this." And he said, "Yeah, okay, speak to Alex, my assistant." Well, I spoke to Alex. James said we can meet. I've got a meeting. So whatever that serendipity, I think that's the word I was looking for. So it can happen, and I had my pseudo elevator pitch to hand my sort of bite-sized truck. Okay, so good shout. Excuse me. Now, have you spotted the floor?
Yeah, big turn. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is the Lancaster one-way system. How it happened, don't know, but that happens. Confusing message. Now, I know that's dead simple and dead obvious, but actually, when it comes to television advertising or some big budget kind of stuff, you can get, some people can just get too clever, and you're not quite sure what message to discern from that. And so just put some thought in. How is your messaging going to play with potential customers, since that's the business that we're all in? So just think about that message. So it's confusing, if nothing else. Okay, because the question we're often asked is, how do we stand out, especially when the greatest of respect, telecoms is hard to get excited by. Now, the phones, I can get excited by a phone, and we had that chat, didn't we, earlier on?
I'm actually with Vodafone. I'd like to make that very clear.
There we go.
Oh dear.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. But it's how to stand out, and I think there's a personal standing out because people buy from people. So much as Big Red, Vodafone, and Spritz Monkey, they'll buy from you because they like the brand. But actually, if we like the interaction, there's a chance that to make yourself an asset as part of the buying process. People will buy because it's Dominic or because it's Fraser. You've got that back to that trust thing. If you trust someone, even if, and we've all got careers, even if you move on somewhere else, they might have a LinkedIn connection, but they won't have a relationship in the way that you guys have relationships. And how can we stand out from the crowd? Okay, here's another thing. Have you ever heard of Blue Sea marketing?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. All right. You can Google that afterwards. Fantastic book. But this is St. Peter's Bay in the Bahamas. And as you can see, it's a beautiful place, unspoilt. If you go in that ocean, you're going to be the only one in that ocean. And I'm going to go on the other side, Red Sea marketing, shark infested, loads of competition, in other words. You put your toes in the water, it's going to get bitten off. The Blue Sea marketing, an example of that would be the iPad. Now, we already talked about Apple v Samsung. Here's me using iPad as a noun almost. What I mean is tablet, but that's how much they invested in their marketing. We call them iPads, even if they're not an iPad. So Jobs, when Steve Jobs was alive and running Apple, he was sat on his sofa watching TV, and he famously had very little furniture in his house. He had this fantastic multi-million-dollar mansion, but hardly any furniture because he lived in it alone. He had this massive TV for the time, and he had an iPhone 3 back in the day. And he was watching. He wanted to watch TV, but he also wanted to check for messages or surf the internet or whatever it was. And the only choice you had was your iPhone 3 or your laptop, your MacBook or whatever it was, and they weren't the rinky-dink ones they are now. They were luggables, so and very clunky, and there was nothing in between. So he said, well, I bet there's a market for this. And because Apple was Apple, he had $560 million going spare, and he decided to make the market. He said, I can't be the only one that's got this need. Let's go and make it. And then he got first mover advantage, what's come to be known as first mover advantage, in terms of making that investment, developing the product, creating the market, which is notoriously expensive to create a market. But in doing so, iPads, I believe, are still twice the price of its next nearest competitor, and yet they've still got the dominant market share. People are prepared because of first mover advantage, brand reinforcement, all those things. People are still prepared to pay over the odds, a big premium, to have that brand, and that's really, really important. Go to the other end of the spectrum here. So that was he created that market, the Blue Sea market. He created that. We go into an already established market. Let's look at the grocery sector. We could even look at the telecom sector if you like, but let's talk about groceries since that's that's independent, if you like. Groceries, the big players there, Tesco, Morrison's, all of those guys, very, as you know, very cutthroat business. And yet 10, 15 years ago, Aldi and Lidl entered into a ferociously competitive market. They jumped in with, and they survived, and not just survived, they thrive. And now you've got Aldi, the bastion of the middle classes. If you've seen the car park as you've gone past Aldi, people are going to go in there. But the reason they've been successful in that fiercely competitive market is because they've got a crystal clear value proposition. That's why. When you go into a Lidl or an Aldi, you're not going to find a vast portfolio of, what they call the multiples. You buy pretty much anything from Tesco. You can't buy just anything from Lidl and Aldi. But what you can buy is it's going to be leading in terms of price, and it's going to be some reasonable quality. You may not recognize the brand, but they're going to have their own brands. In fact, they invent companies to help sell their products, so that they're not pointing you one way or the other. It's unique to them. There's a new company name, without going too much into that. So the point is to have that that crystal clear value proposition. Okay, right, just keep an eye on time. I'm going to go through this slide, then we're going to grab a coffee. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, okay, so this is what's known as a Zeeman pyramid, Z-Y-M-A-N, the Zeeman pyramid, and it talks about value provided. Let's have a look. Okay, so do you remember I talked about I've sold lots of different products, from broadband at 45 quid a month right up to software outsourcing at over $1 billion. The customer that I sold into for the software outsourcing was Vodafone in Newbury, by the way. So this is, you know, hot off the press, so to speak. So it was a tender process. Do you get involved in tenders or requests for quotations and stuff like that?
Yeah, we can do. Certainly in the public domain. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in public sector, right? Okay, so the process with Vodafone was basically we're going to outsource our IT, and you know, you wouldn't believe the number of people that want to win a big deal. Well, you probably would because you're in sales, but there's a lot of people that, just as much we have to qualify a deal, procurement people have to qualify deals as well. Is this vendor, is the supplier capable of delivering at that level? And you have to go through quite a process. So we started out with 19 companies: Capgemini, Accenture, IBM. All of those people want to win a contract like that, but very few are capable of doing that. And so we talk about table stakes. Okay, Mr. Customer or most customer, you want to buy some cyber, we do cyber. Unfortunately, that's not good enough. We've got to be better than that. So that would put us in Me Too, in that bracket, table stakes, if you like. But what's going to make us different? Because different is easier to articulate than just better. What's going to make us preferred? Excuse me. So we're going to get different through capability. And the way that we're going to articulate our capability is on stories, case studies of companies that look like, feel like, smell like, similar to the customer that you're talking to. So in the case of Vodafone, the case study that I presented was, and several of them were companies that Vodafone aspired to be like. I am going back, by the way, Fraser, a few years for this process, but it doesn't matter whether it was last week or last year. The point is, can the customer say, wow, they're just like me, I could benefit from them? The reason why that's important, I know it sounds cheesy, but it means low risk, because risk is attached to every partner that you want to engage in procuring solutions. There's some risk. The risk could be, do I trust? Do I trust them to do this? Will they value my business, or am I just going to be a number? All of those things go through people's minds. So references, case studies. So do you know your case studies? Have you got them to hand? Can you talk to them in anecdotes? Now, Dominic, you're very new. And so it might be a little unfair to, well, it's not unfair to ask, but it would be unfair to expect you to reel off. So instead, Fraser, I'm going to put you on the spot. I can't see you, so I'm guessing still there, but do you?
I am still here, yep.
Okay, good. Do you have case studies that you can go to? Are they readily available to you?
Yes, yeah. If we have won something like this, our marketing team like to get all over it and shout it to the hills, I suppose.
Yeah, no, quite right too. Quite right too. And can you access those case studies?
Yes, so we can access them internally for our own benefit, or in most cases we'll publish them in the public domain online or through a kind of Vodafone case study website.
Okay, and you need to have those at the back of your mind so that you can choose the right case study, the right reference
Yep.
to, there's no point me telling someone about what a great client Vodafone is if I'm talking to a small regional telecoms provider, local
Yes.
telecoms provider, because that would be a mismatch. And the same for Dominic as well in your company. It just needs to feel like similar. Are they interested in our business? Do we trust them to see it all through? So that's really, really important. So relevant case studies. And also, so they help you differentiate. They just bring it to life to make it easier for a customer to understand. Yeah, okay, I understand what it does. Most importantly, I understand how it helps me just make my life, my business run better. Okay, what's next? Right, good. This is a really good place just to halt it for 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back. And I know you're going to think, gosh, this is really, really basic when we come back, but that's the point. I just want to make sure we get these points out. So are you okay if we just, it is, I make it 09 at the moment. So you okay that coming back at 14?
Sure.
14?
Yep.
Is that okay?
Sounds
Brilliant.
good. Yep, perfect.
All right.
No worries.
All right. See you in
Thank you.
just a second. Fraser,
I'll try. Yes.
Right, you're there. Okay, brilliant. So
Yes.
on your, because we're on Zoom today, do you know how to load up a sort of headshot or an image of you when your video switched off?
I was just about to say there, I'll try. So I've got a few people working at home with me today, so I'll try and make sure for next week there's no bandwidth issues for you. If there is going to be, I'll get a picture uploaded for you, because listen, this is how we live our life now on video, so I'm more than used to it. It's just
Yeah.
connectivity.
Yeah, actually, I guess you're on Teams most of the time as well.
Yeah, Teams is too many.
Yeah. Okay, good. Are you both okay with Zoom? I'm happy to revert to Teams if that works for your systems better.
Yeah, we don't use Zoom at all, and I mean, this may be a further issue, but listen, I'm not going to.
When you're flitting, no, well, actually, Dominic, I think you use Teams. Okay, in that case, I will take this as a takeaway to use a Teams link next week. Let's just make a note of that.
I think there was at one point there was a whole thing about Zoom, wasn't there? And people could record it anonymously without ever showing anyone that. And I think that caused a bit of distrust in Zoom after a while. I know
you get a really loud announcement now, so they've tried to do something about that. But actually, in terms of practicable, sometimes if you're on multiple video meetings every day and you go from Teams, next one's on Zoom, it can throw all your settings out. And I think it may have been what happened to
potentially
beginning the call. So okay, Teams link instead. Okay, brilliant. So, well, first of all, so a business benefit now. Now, would anyone like to have a go at articulating what they think a business benefit is? You're welcome to use your own products to highlight that.
I guess as a business benefit, it would be something that would further the business that the prospect is working for. So, for instance, when it comes to what I'm trying to push at the moment, which is what they call Cyber Essentials, it's a government-backed certification that is actually required now by a lot of government contracts to even be able to bid for it. So if you don't have this Cyber Essentials, you don't get a chance to bid for the contract. So the business benefit would be allowing the prospect to be able to go ahead and generate more business through governmental contracts or other proposals that require Cyber Essentials as a prerequisite.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad example. Nice one, Dominic. Fraser, what about you?
Most cases you're meeting a need or a requirement, aren't you? So if a customer's got a challenge or they've got an upcoming project, there's a need for it, and if we can provide that solution, it ticks the boxes, then yeah, you're benefiting that business.
Okay. Do you ever ask why has that need arisen? Why do you want to buy more?
Yeah, I suppose we do sometimes. If it's kind of off the cuff, if it's not a kind of standard product set, obviously everyone sells different things, but yeah, sometimes it's good to understand the story behind it in case there may be different avenues you can look at.
Yeah, sure. But equally, we don't want to overcomplicate something that's probably quite complicated anyway. Now, Dominic, you told the story, which is a great story, about going to Manchester, and you basically wanted to see the whites of your eyes. I'm not sure we should use that expression anymore, but anyway, for purposes of this conversation, probably on solid ground, but he wanted to know that you were real and all of those things. They, in their head, they'd already bought. They just wanted to see you walk through the door and know that you cared. Okay, brilliant. So that was a really good example. So here's the thing that I've learned, and this is outside of Miller Hyman and all those things. there are only two benefits you can offer, no matter what you're selling. There's only two ways that you can benefit your customers, and that is to increase sales or decrease costs. Those are the only two. How you do it, that's where your companies come into play. So increase sales, decrease costs. Now, unfortunately for your market, Fraser, it seems to be a race to the bottom. So, and I'm speaking as a consumer now of broadband in particular, but even if it's the iPhone, that's not a 14 Pro Max, by the way. But if you've got any going spare, that would be fantastic. Because they're pretty rare at the minute. Anyway, so point being is either sell more stuff or reduce costs. And when I think about that incredibly simple approach to life, because life's complicated enough without complicating it even more. So Dominic, with your cyber essentials that you were just talking about, it's an enabler for companies to sell to the private sector, or a GCHQ, or whatever it is. So that's a tick in the box that will help. Now, will it help them sell more? Not quite. They've still got to do more stuff. It is literally a tick in the box, but it's a 1 and 0. It is, if you'll forgive the, I've probably mixed my metaphors there, but it is a 1 and 0. It ticks the box. It doesn't help them win that deal,
but they've either got it or they haven't.
Exactly right, 1 or 0. And Fraser, with your you've got a whole portfolio of products, as probably Dominic does as well. Cyber Essentials is just one part.
Cyber Essentials is one very small part.
Yeah. But the point is, and we cannot nail the entire playbook of both companies here. So I just wanted to tell you that with the lens of increased sales or decreased costs, this is what I think a benefits statement looks like. And I've kept it as technology because I've mainly worked with technology related companies. Is we sell laptops. Well, I'm afraid that on its own is not good enough. We sell cyber essentials, doesn't help you. I'm guessing there are lots of companies that sell cyber essentials, and I know there's loads of companies that sell broadband and communication solutions. So that in itself is not a differentiator. It's not a reason to buy from Vodafone or a reason to buy from Spritz Monkey. Well, we do laptops that has this benefit. They make you more productive. That is the benefit of a laptop. It's because my handwriting is for shit. So forgive the vernacular, but you wouldn't be able to read. In fact, I'd probably make a good doctor on my handwriting strength alone. But you would be able to read my Word document. You might not like what it says, but you would be able to read it. See, that in itself isn't a differentiator, because I could buy a laptop from anyone and it would give me that productivity. Okay, what else you got? Well, the way we deliver IT, the way we deliver cyber, or the way we deliver telecoms is means it's 30% cheaper because you've got more uptime. So, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that as soon as you open your laptop, no matter where you are in the world, it connects to the nearest Wi-Fi, tier 4 data centers at the back end. You just know you're going to be able to get to your data. There's a high degree of certainty, as opposed to fiddling about with loads of buttons, trying to get onto someone's Wi-Fi, forget that network, disconnect, all of those things. You just know it's going to work. And there's a lot of, and that's helping to articulate the difference in your offer, the reliability. Now, a lot of people could say, well, ours is pretty reliable too because of whatever reason. But if you can also say, well, at the end of our first service term, which is typically 3 years in technology, 2 or 3 years, is that 75% of our customers renew their agreement. That means A, you've got great products that they want to buy. That's one point of difference. And you've got great customer service to back it all up. That's a great story to tell customers, and people buy on that strength. Now that's a business benefit, as opposed to we've gone from, well, we sell laptops, we sell broadband, we sell.
Sorry.
We've told a story. That's okay. We've told a story about reasons people buy or reasons to buy from us, as opposed to a tick box exercise, which I have to say 75% of your competition will stop at. They won't go the extra mile and tell that story. So that's why it's important. Now, I know, strictly speaking, we're out of the pandemic now and we're into kind of business as usual, but this is it's clear and present, and I wanted to tell this story as well as a non-technology. Okay, it's biotech, but it's non-information technology. So we want to find a cure for COVID-19. This is the thought process they would have had at the time. Well, we're a medical research, Boris. I probably should not use that person's name because it's a little bit polarizing, shall we say. So anyway,
Take him or leave him.
yeah, Prime Minister, we're a medical research institute. That must surely mean you give us the business, award the business to go find the cure. Well, I'm afraid, Fraser, I'm afraid, Dominic, that's not quite good enough. Well, okay, well, we have renowned industrial strength processes. We get all the liars in one room. So all the research scientists, which is a deliberately provocative phrase, getting all the liars in one room, but actually when you manage big companies or you work with sort of big propositions, you do have a number of people to get around the table to get to one answer. So that puts you, okay, a little bit different. We're out of Me Too. We're into difference there. That's interesting. Or you can do what BioNTech said. The German company, which you're probably familiar with, we reduced timescales for human vaccine trials from 10 years to 10 weeks. So in a pharma setting, to go from a whiteboard design or somewhere more complicated than that to a product that's that could be jabbed into someone's arm, it's typically 10 years. They collapsed that. They had the expertise, the resources and everything else to go with that, where they could collapse that process from 10 years to 10 weeks. And that's why the government, and I'm sure there are one or two other, should we say, softer items as well, but that's why they bought BioNTech. Pfizer close behind, AstraZeneca close behind as well, but BioNTech were the leaders. And in fact, BioNTech have gone from strength to strength because now they're using that same technology, which we could talk about in section 7 in a few weeks' time. They're using that same process to find a cure for cancer, as you're probably aware. So that is a business benefit, and that's telling a story relevant to a particular customer. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to ask you to bear in mind is sometimes you've got to dig deep. I just want to tell this quick story about a customer of mine from a couple of years ago. The answers are almost certainly already with your company. You've just got to go and find them. So what did I do? So back to this chart again. I'll refer to this a lot as we go forward. The Zeeman pyramid is that I was asked to undertake a sales campaign, excuse me, for a business school, a management school, who had this highly rated master's program. Whereas highly rated master's program could mean anything. Highly rated to who? It doesn't really mean an awful lot, especially to the average person in the street, so to speak. What does that really mean? And they were having recruitment issues. So this is right back at sell more or a decreased cost. So I was helping them to sell more. That was the job at hand. and they couldn't recruit people onto this program. So anyway, fast forward 7 weeks. I got them from 2 people that they had signed up to 23 people, 1,000% increase in their in 7 weeks, and they'd spent about 10 months getting to this point, but they didn't do it. And this is why I know this process kind of works. What in the debrief, which is 7 weeks after we started, we had a couple of there was a dozen or so people around the table. We'd gotten them over the line. They were kind of in the debrief. I overheard a conversation between 2 of the academics on that program, and one said to the other, "Oh, by the way, we're number 1 again for corporate strategy." And I stopped the meeting at that point, and I said, "Sorry, Martin, number 1, what is that? Is that number 1 in the Northwest? Because Manchester Alliance Business School, just down the road, maybe that was their competition." And Martin said, "Oh no, number 1 in the world." And I said, I mean, I don't know about you, but I always think of Harvard as being number 1, Harvard or Stanford as being number 1 in the world as a non-HE sort of person. And you say, "Oh no, we're better than Harvard at corporate strategy." And I said, "Well, that seems to me extraordinary. And we're better than Chicago Booth." "Oh yes, we're better than Chicago Booth." And I said, "Well, no, it turns out, one second. So it happens, the reason why, I don't know if you can get this, the reason why they're number 1 in the world is because Jerry Johnson literally wrote the book on corporate strategy. It's the number 1 text. Have you guys ever come across that book before?
No, I've not.
Okay, so if you go and do an MBA one day, and I hope you get that opportunity. You may not take it, but I hope you get the opportunity to do an MBA one day. You'll be reading the Johnson Scholes book of corporate strategy, and that's why they're number 1. And that's exciting, but the infuriating thing about that was I could have really done with knowing that 7 weeks before, and we'd have had 33 people on the program, not 23. Now, my point there is, if you were in an American institution, and I think we covered this in the first part of the call, that would have been drilled into you day 1. We are number 1 in the world. And the reason why we're British, now we can go into UK and all of that, but we're typically quite reserved. We don't like showing off. But you know what? We've got to find those nuggets that already existed for Lancaster University, as it was at the time. We've got to be bold. We mustn't make false claims, but let's have a look at where's the gold in our customer base. What case studies, relevant case studies, and number 1 for corporate strategy is a really good reason to go and do it in an MBA at Lancaster, is because you're going to get it from Jerry Johnson, the horse's mouth. That's worth paying for, and that what helped them put their fees up. By the way, they created such a demand for that course afterwards because we'd unlocked all the gold. Now, I didn't invent any of that. I didn't make them number 1 in the world, but I was able to, through questioning, building trust so that people would open up, they gave me the answers and I just repeat them back, and we got, so really, really important point. And I've over-egged that specifically because it is that important, I feel. Okay, right, so here we go. So it's a bit of reflection for you. I just want you to take, assuming you both got pen and paper there, I think, Dominic, I've seen you writing some stuff.
Yes, I do, yeah.
I would like you to take 2 minutes, and I'm going to time it, what you think your top 3 benefits are of dealing with Spritz Monkey or dealing with Vodafone. Top 3 benefits. Don't mind what they are, but I want you to write them down. And I'm going to I'm going to time it now. Twenty seconds. Oh, sorry, a bit loud. Excuse me. Okay. How did we get on?
Fraser, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. Yeah, I'll crack on. Top 3 benefits of Vodafone. So a few of them kind of tie into each other, but we're a global brand, which means we work with a lot of global clients, so we can kind of cover all your needs in all your locations. We're not just kind of siloed into a certain industry or a certain region. We are kind of on the back of that, we're also a local. We've got a local presence. As we're global, we're also local. So we've got Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales. Then you go international: Germany, Turkey, Spain, all individual Vodafoners, but as part of the kind of global outreach. So I think a lot of organisations like a lot of clients we do in Scotland want a Scottish representative. We want, or in England or Wales or Northern Ireland, we want Northern Ireland representation. So I think having a local presence is also good. I think that relates to Dominic's point: sending someone in works. And we're trusted, so we're award winning. So you can trust us with your data, with your products, with your propositions. We've won many awards, and you can look in kind of the Gartners and whatnot to see the awards. So yeah, very trusted infrastructure, and we're UK. We're a homegrown brand.
UK. All right. Well, okay. All right. I'm not going to comment on that just at the minute, Fraser, if that's okay. But I have written it down. So, excuse me. Okay, Dominic.
Great customer service. When you deal with someone, they'll be helping you all the way through. So you've got an excellent customer service there. Excellent after sales care. So once you've gone through the process, we're good at managing accounts and keeping people talked to and keeping them at the forefront of our memory and part of our business. And then we've got expert consultancy. We've got well-trained people who know what they're talking about and how to benefit those businesses with the products that we offer.
Okay, so I've got that as I'll do it in reverse order. So Dominic, I've got great customer service, great after sales service, and you've got expert consultants.
Yes.
Okay, and with Fraser, I've got global brand.
Yep.
I've got local presence. So even though you've got great global brand and therefore reach, actually you can engage with someone locally.
Yep.
And I've got trusted because multi-award winning, UK
yep.
homegrown, things like that. Okay, right. So gentle challenge back. This is not easy, by the way. Could your erstwhile competitors claim pretty much the same things?
Yeah, looking at that, for me, yes.
And that's where it's really hard, A, to articulate your benefits of dealing with your particular companies. It is really, really hard to get crystal clear. It's the equivalent of something being out. When I hold that, this list of benefits up, you can't quite see it. You know, there's something written on there. You can't quite see what it is, and so it is with great customer service. Well, you know, your competitors could and should claim the same thing, but if you can give examples to save the customer working it out for themselves, because the reason you're here is because Alex wants you to be better than the competition, win more deals. And the way that you're going to be better is you're going to give specific examples of where you've proven yourself. Like that #1 in the world for corporate strategy, I actually use that story to differentiate myself. I tell that story, A, because it's true, B, because I was really frustrated that I found out about that 7 weeks into the campaign as opposed to day one. And B, people can relate to it as, do you know, you're absolutely right. We're not very good. We're British. We're not very good at showing off. And we absolutely, especially, and let me be the first one to mention Brexit, especially now that we're kind of on or off on our own. And Fraser, that taps into a very different conversation, I know, but anyway, that's my point. So keep that, and let's kind of motor on through. We've already done that, guidelines. Okay, so I am so your value proposition. So if you're mathematically minded, as I am, I like setting things out almost in the form of an equation. We're not going to do BODMAS here, but your value proposition is your offer. So broadband, and I'm picking on broadband, I don't know why, or mobile phones, or cyber, that's just what you do. That's your offer. In and of itself, that's not really what benefits your customers. So your offer, the benefits is what it helps your customers do. So that laptop, we sell laptops, that's not really the benefit. The benefit is that the way we do it is you can open up your laptop, fire it up, you just absolutely can be absolutely certain it's going to connect, you can get onto the internet straight away. You can do that, you don't even have to think about it, it just works. That's the benefit. Then your case studies, ideally you want 2 case studies to help encapsulate the story you're trying to tell specific to that customer, your target market, and then a call to action. And remember that we're building this up as a 60-second sort of pitch. So the benefits are the costs reduction or the revenue increase that my company could bring to your company. Those case studies contextualize that your benefits that your client enjoyed. The target market is the clients that you're looking to win. So how do you, what ocean are you swimming in? Are you swimming in a blue ocean or a red ocean? What customers are you looking for? Are you looking for SMEs? Are you looking for financial services customers or manufacturing customers? How's that working? And then a call to action at the end of your story, which could be anything from let's meet for a cup of coffee and get to the next level of detail. Or it could be refer to our website. And this happens a lot with telecoms companies, is the website is the point of all knowledge for both customers and employees and staff, because that's where the latest deals are. Or it could be referral. Okay, so you're not in the market. Is there anyone else that is in the market that you could refer me to? Or or if you've won a deal with that particular client, thank you very much for your business. Is there anyone else that I can go and talk to in your network? That might be the call to action. Be bold. Cite numbers. Numbers tell a story as well. We reduced costs by 30%, or we increased sales by 1,000%, or whatever the number is. But putting a number adds credibility to that. And then using, and especially in the world of tech, depending on who you're selling to. Do you remember I said you're really experienced in selling what you sell, but your customer may be buying different stuff all day long. They're not going to be as experienced buying your stuff as you are in selling your stuff. So try to steer away from jargon. Really hard to do, but you've got to try and do it. And ask yourself, so what? We've got great customer service. So what? We've got a global brand. So what? Is that relevant? Might be, might not be. Okay, and so an example of that, that 8 to 10 seconds of elevator pitch we talked about earlier on, something for me in my world might be, hey, I just helped XYZ company with their cold calling skills, and they generated 30% more appointments last week. So the fact that I help them with their telephone cold calling skills, that's just what I do. The benefit is they got more first appointments last week, 30% more. That's the benefit. They'll sell more stuff as a result of doing that. Or it could be, I just helped Leonardo DiCaprio with his acting skills, and as a result, he won an Oscar. So it's my offer and his benefit. Now, someone's already beaten me to that one, so I can't help there. Okay, right. So I'm not going to do this because I'm conscious of time. I want to run you through this because this is going to bring it all to a point. So I'm going to need to share my sound on the back of this. Just 1 second.
I'm so freaking excited. For 3 days
Right.
live in London,
Let's get rid of
I'm going
this.
to share with you how I've scaled my coaching business.
Stop
to
it.
$500,000
Skip ahead. Okay, right. So I need to optimize my sound here. Does anyone recognize what this is going to be?
Never seen The Wolf of Wall Street, so I wouldn't know.
Wow, that's a badge of honor. Fraser, have you seen this?
I have numerous times. Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, okay, right. So this is a Martin Scorsese movie. Why does that matter? Well, normally there's loads of death and loads of swearing. So I've managed to find a scene where there's neither of either.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah, indeed. That in itself is a feat. What I'm going to do is, this is going to be a 60-second pitch. I've not altered anything. This is how it comes out if you go and see the movie. This is what you're going to see. But I just want to show you the sales skills that are at play as we go through the scene. And the scene itself is only, well, this bit of the scene that I'm going to show you is only 60 seconds long. Let me just go through to here. There we go. Well, I'm going to play it all the way through, and then I'm going to skip back. Is that right?
Hello, John. How you doing today? You mailed in my company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on penny stocks that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. Does that ring a bell? Okay, great. Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute? Name of the company, Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now, right now, John, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. And by the way, John, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that. Your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000. Jesus,
That's my mortgage, man.
Exactly, you could pay off your mortgage.
This stock will pay off my house.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners I asked them to judge me on my losers because I have so few. And in the case of Aerotime, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, let's do it. I'll do $4,000.
4,000, that'd be 40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John?
Sounds good.
Great. Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence, and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Did you both hear that? No, you've seen that for the first time, I'm guessing, Dominic. So, and you've, sounds like, seen that loads of times.
Yeah. Yep.
Could you both hear it okay? Because
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
right, brilliant. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is take it back to the very beginning when he starts making the call, and I just want to talk to you what's going on, and ask any questions that you want. I'm conscious, by the way, that we've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to whiz through this. Okay, so there we go. Right, here we go.
And I hope it happens.
Hello, John. How you doing today? You mailed in my company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on penny stocks that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. Does that ring a bell?
Okay, right. So, what happened? What happened there?
Oh, do you want us to weigh in on that, or is that?
Yeah, please.
I guess he made it less cold by actually warming them up with the interest that they provided, or referencing back to something that they would have done themselves. So not making it just this is a cold outreach. This is actually, you've contacted me, or I've seen something that you posted, or you put this postcard through. You have interest. I know that. Does that ring any bell with you? So it's like, I know you have interest.
Yeah, excellent. Fraser.
I think the exact same. He's responding to active interest. It's not a cold call as such. It's almost a follow up.
Yeah, you're right. There is a little more that's going on here. He is almost regardless of the words that are coming out of his mouth. First of all, it's not very long intro. It's the intro. If you know anything about technology, you will know that when modems talk to each other, the modem at home and the modem in the exchange, they don't start broadcasting the information straight away. They send what's called a marker signal. Now, the language may have changed in the 34 years I first started learning about this, but they send a marker signal, and it basically says, are you ready to receive information? And the other modem says, yes, I am. Okay, here comes the good bit. That's the human.
I've heard that as called like a handshake.
Absolutely, handshake. Yeah. Okay, good. That may be where the language has morphed from just a marker signal to a handshake. Thanks, Dominic. That's what just happened. Now, put that in your own worlds, and I've been on the receiving end of enough call center calls where they almost like do a bulldozer, as they keep this avalanche of words coming at you, and no matter how much you try to say, please stop, I'm not going to take this call, they keep coming at you with da 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 da. That's not the point. So he stopped and he got engagement from the other side. Okay, let's have a look. And so the words, almost immaterial. It was the act of building rapport, building a bit of trust that he wasn't going to waste too much time. He got the other side engaged in the conversation. Okay, right. So let's have a look at the next bit.
Okay, great. Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute?
Great. What do we think happened there?
You can kind of hear the customers almost trying to get off the call, as you're saying, like trying to reject it, and he's using kind of overcoming techniques, I suppose.
Yeah, nice.
Generating interest, really. He's clear in what he's doing. He's like, look, I know I want to share this with you. This is something that I feel would interest you. And he say, if you've got a moment, I'd love to share it with you. It's made it personal. He's generated the interest, and he's able to, you know, bring about the customer's almost eagerness to listen or hear him out, as I hear it, and put a lot, hear him out and give him his 15 seconds or 60 seconds.
A really key word there, if it's what we call conditionality. If you be quiet and let me talk, I got some really interesting information for you. Now, I hope you would never use that on the phone. This is not necessarily about the words, this is about the principles of what's going on. But this is the way sales worked back then. And that's not the point. The point is, it's what called linearity, is what a Hollywood scriptwriter would call linearity. It's pretty straight. Okay, all right. If you've got a minute, and he shuts up and he waits for the affirmation from the customer, I'm ready to go. So you imagine it's like a cold call that you're making. This is why it makes sense, and it works. And the customer says, yes, okay, I'm ready, shoot. And so you've got permission to sell effectively. Okay.
Name of the company, Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest, awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now.
Okay. What happened then?
Kind of try to drop excitement and kind of drum up a kind of exciting from the buyer. I don't know how much more to elaborate that, but trying to you know what I mean.
I do. Thank you.
Creating a need, creating a what's the word? It's showing opportunity, but it's creating a want to be part of that opportunity. So it's creating that want for it.
There's almost a fear of missing out, kind of.
That's the one, fear of missing out. I knew it.
Okay. I hesitate because I think you made that point, just use that phrase. He was also creating some urgency.
That's it. Yeah.
Some urgency in there, and as we know, stock prices can go up and down. By the way, some people say when I play this back to them, they'll say it's unethical. That firm is operating out of a shed. You know, you shouldn't be trying to do that. Now, if anyone knows the story of Hewlett Packard or NCR, or even Gymshark, as a UK company, they started in someone's garage. So let's not go there. That's a red herring. Point being is that he got into his value proposition. We're back at value proposition. The value proposition was, we've got this stock, it's hot, you want to buy it. That's basically that, but that was his offer. And now we're going to go into something else. So have a listen to what happens next.
Right now, John, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. And by the way, John, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that. Your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000.
Right. What happened there?
Use facts, use numbers.
Yeah.
Create something the customer can relate to. They're buying the shares, they're buying the stocks, they're investing. That's a fact that's going to resonate with them.
Yeah. Fraser?
I think the exact same. If it kind of goes back to customers obviously interested in investing in some sense, so he's using facts and figures and maybe hypothetical, but he's showing a return. It's not just he's not just trying to take the money, he's just showing a possible return on investment.
Right. We went from value proposition is offer, buy my stock, into benefit.
Yep.
The stock itself is uninteresting. It's what the trade will do for the customer. That is the interesting bit. Your stock, which currently trades at 10 cents or whatever it is, could go sky high you know, as a result of buying this stock. To remember, make more money, sell more stuff, reduce costs. So we're in that zone where the customer's going to make money. That's the selling proposition of that of this call. Okay, that's what happens. We move from value proposition into benefit, clearly articulated benefit with numbers. Okay.
Jesus, that's my mortgage, man.
Exactly, you could pay off your mortgage.
This stock will pay off my house.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few.
Okay. I'm not going to ask them because it's a little bit abstract, but it is highly relevant for your businesses. So don't judge me on my winners. Judge me on my losers because I have so few. How would I'm just going to go straight to it because I'm conscious of time. Trust.
Yeah.
Reduced risk. Now, that probably wasn't the intent when Scorsese and the scriptwriters wrote this stuff. It probably wasn't the intent, but the way I play that back and the sort of spin I want to put on that is trust me. I think he actually used the word trust me. Judge me on my losers because I have so few. So not only is it do we think it's going to make money, it has more credence because I sell so few losers, if you like. Judge me on my losers because I have so few. So it's trust. So back to a highly considered purchase that you guys sell. Trust us to deliver. Trust us is such an important part of a buying criteria, if you like. Very hard to articulate why you should trust someone. But that's not the point. And over the course of the next 7 sessions, we're going to show how to build trust. And such a lot of it is unsaid. It's what you do. It's your presence in the room. It's how you present yourselves. And hardly any of it is about the words that you speak. Some of those words are important, but how you create trust is very, very hard to do. But if we help you master it, you will be streets ahead of your competition. Now that benefits whatever firm you're working for at the time, but that is something you can take with you for the rest of your days, is knowing how to do that. Okay, I just want to finish this off. 1 second.
And in the case of Aerotime, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, so he sets it up. We're looking at a grand slam home run. So this is a really good deal to do.
I'll do $4 grand.
4,000, that'd be 40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John? Great. Hey.
Okay, good. So it's what's called a summary close. And we'll go into that in more detail on number 6, negotiate and close. So he's basically repeating now. Some of this is regulation. Now, you're in a highly regulated business, and that is non-negotiable. You've got to do what the regulator says, whether you like it or not. You've got to do that stuff. And I think, although to a lesser degree, you're in a regulated business as well, Fraser, especially if it's not formally regulated by Ofgem, I beg your pardon, Ofcom. It's best practice at the very least in cyber. So you're repeating back what the customer has bought, so you're both on the same page. The expectations and messages are all sort of known. And oh my goodness, we're over time. So that's the point. One last thing, and then we'll wrap up.
Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence, and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Bye-bye.
He thanked him for his business. How basic is that? I know you wanted more advanced stuff than that. It's incredibly basic, but do you know what? It happens infrequently. Just thank you. And I've known thank you, and I sometimes follow up, depending on who I'm talking to, sometimes I follow up with a handwritten note, which hardly anyone receives these days, but is another differentiator around building relationships. Thank you for your business. Da, 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 da. That's the sort of thing that I do. I'm going to talk to you about what's going to happen next week. So takeaways, you'll get this afterwards. Crystal clear message, what we're going to do. Contextually relevant benefits for the audience. It was very relevant to what the person was expecting to buy, wanted to buy. So what? That would stand the so what test. But now he used some jargon, but if you're selling shares to someone in the financial markets, it's reasonable. You would expect them to be quite a sophisticated person. So I would argue it was a relevant audience. You could use patent approved, all of those things, cutting edge. And there was a clear call to action: buy right now. That was the call to action. And he was bold. He cited numbers. Okay, right. So, So next week, I'll do that next week. We're going to be talking about go-to-market. Let me come off of shared screen. We're going to be talking about go-to-market strategy. We've got messages now in our business, and so if you want to do a little bit more work around your top 3 benefits, you're very welcome to, and we'll help crystallize those as we go through the process. But that's what and then we're going to take those messages to market. Okay, brilliant. Now that's the end of this particular session. Do you have any questions at all?
No, I think I'm pretty good on that. I've been trying to take notes as I kind of go.
Yeah.
Will there be something available to sort of take away and read as well? I know obviously you've sent through that email with the PDF.
Slides. What I'm going to do is when I've recorded this, and actually I'm going to stop the recording now if that's